Dear friends, today we have a special episode of Super Tony's Adventures. Enjoy! Today we have the most experimental experiment of all the experiments in the world. And of course, Tony will play the main part. Yes, buddy, I think you have eaten way too much candy and have gained a few pounds over the last days. So, starting right now, you're gonna stop eating sugar for a month, and we'll see what's gonna happen. Let's start! So, instead of sweets, you are gonna eat fruits, vegetables, yogurts, eggs, and lean meat. And instead of drinking soda, you are gonna drink plain water. I see things are going well at first. But after 1 week, it's clear that something is not right with Tony. His body is trying to adapt because it is not getting the usual amount of sugar. As a result, Tony is constantly feeling hungry, anxious, and stressed. The reason is that sugar enters the human body and stimulates the production of dopamine, the happy hormone. But there's another hormone, cortisol, responsible for stress. So, right now there's an excess of cortisol in Tony's body because there's no sugar. But you just hold tight, Tony, this feeling will go away soon. The second week is pretty hard. Tony is constantly feeling the need for sweet. And he's annoyed because everyone can have sugar while he can't. But there's a way out, eating dried fruits. They will replenish your glycogen reserves, as well as give you energy and make you feel happy. Therefore, at the end of week 2, Tony's life is getting back to normal. The third week goes pretty well. The bad things are behind us, right, Tony? Now, you don't want something sweet all the time. Moreover, you don't want to sleep all the time and you have much more energy. By the end of the experiment, Tony's body has adapted to the new diet. It's getting all it needs from healthy food. Moreover, the extra pounds are gone, the blood pressure is back to normal, and the cholesterol level has dropped. You even look prettier, Tony. We can say that our experiment has been a success. Oh no, not again, Tony! How many times have I told you not to eat fast food? It's really unhealthy. Well, now I'll have to give you a punishment and you're not gonna like it. I'm sorry, but it's the only way for you to see how bad fast food is for your health. So, let's start today's experiment. So, it's been a few days since Tony started his fast food diet. Now he's constantly feeling tired, even after getting a good 8-hour sleep. The reason is burgers have too much carbohydrates that pump tryptophan right into your brain, and this, in turn, causes tiredness. In other words, the more fast food you eat, the easier it will be to get tired. After only 1 week, you can see Tony's getting a little bigger. And again, carbs are to blame, because fast food carbs are special. They're known as fast or simple carbohydrates. Your body has a hard time ingesting them, so it stores them as fat. Also, if you eat a lot of fast food in one sitting, your glucose level will go through the roof, making you feel full. But in just about an hour, you'll be hungry again. Besides, fast food contains loads of additives and flavor enhancers that easily stimulate the pleasure center of our brain. As a result, our body gets used to this sensation, which leads to addiction. So, even though Tony tried to limit himself to 3 meals a day, his constant hunger made him eat more and more burgers. 2 weeks have passed. Let's check up on our friend. As you can see, his heart is now struggling to pump blood to the system. This happens because trans fats increase cholesterol levels in the body. This creates lumps in the arteries that make the blood flow more difficult. You can also see swellings all over Tony's body because of the salt that is found in large quantities in fast food. It strains the kidneys, and they can't work right anymore. And look how the skin's changed. Fast food has a very high glycemic index, which indicates how carbohydrates from food affect blood glucose. So remember that fast food has a lot of simple sugars, carbohydrates, and trans fats that can make acne bloom on your face and body. I think after this experiment, Tony will start thinking about his diet. Friends, we don't think you should say no to fast food forever, but at least try to eat it less. For example, no more than once a week. Choose healthier foods that will make you strong, healthy, and beautiful. Remember, you are what you eat. Today, we're gonna challenge Tony and push him to his limits. We are gonna try to spend a week without sleeping and see what happens. Let's start. It's been a day, and Tony has spent all this time playing games on his PC. So far, it has been pretty easy. His biological clock is a little bit out of sync, but Tony is feeling a little tired and nothing else. 2 days after beginning the challenge, he starts having problems with his memory and his motor coordination. It's also getting harder and harder to focus his eyes on something and concentrate. On the 3rd day, his nervous system is exhausted. The frontal part of his brain has problems working properly. Thinking creatively is impossible, and Tony can't focus to perform at least one task. And his speech is getting monotonous, although he's always been like that. Apart from these brain issues, the digestive system is starting to give up. When you spend way too much time awake, your body activates a defense mechanism known as fight or flight response. In other words, now Tony wants to eat all the time, so the body starts storing fat and secreting hormones responsible for insomnia. Believe it or not, even if Tony tries to sleep now, he won't be able to. 5 days have passed, and the hallucinations are starting to kick in. The brain isn't working properly anymore. Even a simple math problem becomes an impossible task for poor Tony. And here we are, a week of no sleep. Tony isn't Tony anymore. He's being tortured both by auditory and visual hallucinations. He doesn't know where he is or what he's doing. All his body systems are failing. His neurons are tired. His heart muscle is worn out. His liver is barely working, and his immunity system is failing, letting viruses and bacteria enter the body. So, dear viewers, as you see from this experiment, not sleeping for several days is really harmful and even dangerous for your health. 1 week of no sleep can mess you up so much, you'll probably never be the same. So friends, don't spend all night in front of the computer or on your phone. You can watch some episodes of Super Tony until late, but that's it. And if you sleep at least 8 hours every night, you'll see that your body will thank you. Tony, today we're gonna conduct a very exciting experiment. We will find out what happens if you don't wash your hair for a whole year. Let's go, my trusty Tony. We're gonna do some great things together. Nothing terrible has happened after a few days. In order to remain hydrated, the scalp produces sebum and oil, resulting in greasy hair. About a week later, an unpleasant smell has appeared, which follows Tony wherever he goes. This happens because the scalp is now actively absorbing moisture, creating a perfect environment for bacteria. And the smell appears because of them. By the way, all body odors appear because of these little bastards, which is why our parents ask us to shower all the time. Sorry, we got distracted. Let's proceed with the experiment. The next symptom is itching and skin irritation. But this is nothing compared to what's gonna happen next. After 2 months of not washing your hair, you may experience pain. Oily and dirty hair weighs much more than clean hair, thus it puts a heavier load on the hair follicles. In addition, the nerve endings on the head are now also in constant stress, which may provoke migraine. That means you will have a headache all the time. The next problem is ingrown hair. This condition occurs 7 months into the experiment. Hair bulbs can get to the surface because of dirt, and the hair has to look for other ways to grow, under the skin for example. And after 9 months, the hair may stop growing altogether. We are already close to the end of the experiment. Tony hasn't washed his hair for 10 months. Bacteria is already beginning to penetrate deep into the scalp and cause dandruff. Well, that's it. A year without shampoo or at least water. Oh, you look nice, Tony. Because of the huge layer of dirt on your head, your hair follicles have stopped getting enough nutrients and simply died. That's why your hair just fell out. I don't even know if it will grow back. Ew, Tony. Would you go and wash up or something? I wouldn't be surprised if even our viewers now felt your stench through their screens. You're so stubborn. I'll tell you what will happen to you if you don't shower. Spoiler alert, it's not good, Tony. Or is it? We'll find out. Let's start. Lately, People have been saying on the internet that taking showers too often can be harmful, that gels and soaps dry out your skin, and so on and so forth. Sometimes after a hard day's work, you might think, well, what if I don't shower today? It might even be good for my body. Haha, like hell it will. The harm from skipping a shower is far greater than the harm from all the cleaning products put together. First of all, you might get pimples all over your body. Moreover, abstaining from showering for a long time can lead to painful sensations and irritation on the skin. And if you want to break all possible records for not showering, then be prepared for the terrible brown buildup of skin oils, sweat, and bacteria on your skin. You won't be able to get rid of it in a few minutes. So, the longer you don't wash, the easier it is for fungi and bacteria to multiply on your skin. Also, you should know that our body is completely covered in micro cracks, micro wounds, and numerous pores. Now add these two facts together and you get terrible infectious sores all over your body. So remember friends, if a wound on your body doesn't heal for a long time, make sure to see a doctor. Hold it right there, Tony. If you take a shower every time you get a chance, you aren't helping yourself either. It's not that simple. The fact is that not only bad bacteria, but also a lot of good bacteria that benefit our bodies live on our skin. And as we know, bad things reproduce easier. Accordingly, showering too often prevents the normal reproduction of good bacteria and leads to an increase of bad bacteria. The important thing here is to find the right balance. A shower once a day is ideal. So we have already found out that there are all kinds of bacteria on the body. And if you don't wash for a long time, they start to crawl into your skin pores and make it hard for your skin to breathe, especially when you sweat a lot. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to take a shower after you sweat. So I have a few tips. If you're wearing tight, non-breathable clothes, carry a change of clothes with you. Also, buy some wet wipes. There's nothing difficult about going into the restroom to freshen up a bit. Here's the most important argument for you, Tony, the smell. It will appear in any case, whether you sweat or not. The thing is, contrary to popular belief, sweat itself doesn't smell. Again, bacteria are to blame. They release all sorts of unnecessary and smelly substances, like you do when you sit on the toilet for hours and hours. And with every shower you skip, there's more and more bacteria on your body, which means there's more smelly secretions. And if you also sweat, you create the perfect conditions for these little buggers. In a humid and warm environment, they multiply dozens of times faster. And of course, I must say that skipping a shower will take its toll on your gorgeous hair. Although today, people are constantly arguing about how often you should wash your hair. Some say every day. Others argue that this disrupts the salt and water balance and can begin to cause problems with either oily or dry scalp. So everything depends on the person. Yeah, it's not the prettiest solution to this problem, Tony. I'm going to continue for the audience, which can control themselves better than you. Everyone can determine for themselves how often they can wash their hair without negative consequences. But let's not forget what I've said earlier. Washing too rarely also leads to the multiplication of bad bacteria and an unpleasant smell from the air. To better understand your body, we advise you to see a special hair doctor known as a trichologist. They will examine you, perhaps carry out some tests, and then tell you in detail what shampoos are better to use and how often you can wash your hair.
Hello, friends. Tony and I are in a rush. He was just walking around the park when he suddenly felt he needed to do a number 2. We're afraid we won't make it. Okay, stop. Tony, I wonder what will happen if you try to hold it inside you, and how long could you do it? Sounds like a great idea for an experiment. Let's go. After a few hours, it's getting very hard to hold it, and Tony manages to keep his pants clean only thanks to his great willpower. The first thing he feels is abdominal pressure. Tony is now suffering from bloating and gases in his stomach, which are difficult to get rid of. After 6 hours, it is a bit easier to tolerate, but only because water from feces is absorbed into the intestines. It gets more solid, causing constipation.
You can still feel the urge to go to the toilet, of course, but it's not that strong anymore. After 12 hours, the stool becomes very hard. The belly is swollen because of the high pressure in the abdomen. If you go to the toilet now, it can be accompanied by pain, bleeding, and minor ruptures of the anus. After holding it for more than 12 hours, the feces are hard as a rock. A fecal impaction may form. It is a large, hard mass of feces stuck in the intestines that it can no longer be pushed out. Most often, in this situation, you have to resort to an enema or even surgery. And if you do nothing, it can lead to serious illness and even death. Anyway, dear friends, you should never try this at home because the consequences can be too severe. When you hold it, you keep the waste products in your body, and if they get into a wound or crack in the intestine, it can lead to a bacterial infection. In addition, the rectum can expand or even change its shape, which will cause problems in the future, leading to intermittent constipation, which will only aggravate the condition of your intestine and your health in general. So Tony, let's finish this experiment and run to the toilet. Tony, do you need to go to the toilet? Hang on, we have an experiment to make. I have a great idea. Let's see how much can a person hold their pee before their bladder explodes. And you'll help us with that, Tony. Let's go. First, we have to say that the bladder has a volume of 200 to 400 milliliters, less than a half-liter bottle. But the need to go to the toilet doesn't appear right after you drink water. First, the liquid passes through the stomach and the intestinal tract. It is absorbed by the blood and passes through to the kidneys. It is there where it becomes pee and ends up in the bladder. You'll first feel the urge to go to the toilet when your bladder fills up to 60% of its capacity. So, a person who drinks 2 liters of water a day will visit the toilet from 4 to 6 times. If you end up going more than 10 times, you probably have some bladder problems and should see a doctor. How are you holding up, Tony? You know, an adult can hold their pee for up to 6 hours. After that, the bladder will explode and there will be pieces of you all around. Just kidding. Our body is truly advanced, so if your bladder cannot hold any more pee, the brain will send a signal and force you to relax and experience a very embarrassing situation. If this happens too often, you'll have problems holding your pee constantly. This is known as urinary incontinence. But in the worst cases, your bladder can definitely explode. For example, if you hold your pee for long and a friend accidentally pats you on the stomach too hard, the unexpected stress can make your bladder burst. Your bladder will end up with a hole and your urine will enter the abdominal cavity. This can be very dangerous and you'll end up in the operating table right away. Without proper help, a situation like that can end up with the person's death. Overall, friends, an exploding bladder is not the only cause for concern. The thing is that pee holds toxic elements and your body wants to get rid of them. So, when you hold your pee, these elements can pass through the walls of the bladder and enter your blood flow again. So, if you go to the toilet as soon as you feel the need, you'll be making your body a favor. So Tony, no more suffering. Run to the toilet. On your marks, ready, go! Oh boy, aren't you ashamed of yourself? You wet your pants right in front of our viewers. Hey Tony, have you ever wondered how exactly snake venom affects the human body? Well, I happen to have a couple of vipers and cobras lying around. We'll let them bite you and see exactly how the venom kills people. Let's begin. Let's start by saying that venomous snakes are not bloodthirsty killers at all. They never attack humans or large animals for no reason. It happens purely out of self-defense. For example, if someone steps on them or gets too close to their hideout. Most often they bite the feet or the muzzle of those who are particularly curious. Let's start the experiment with the vipers. Release the Kraken. I've always wanted to say that. Well, it's done. The place of the bite swells and turns red quickly, and Tony starts feeling an unbearable pain. In general, there are 2 kinds of snake venom. The first spreads through the blood system, gradually destroying the vital organs and tissues of the body. The second acts on the nervous system, making the lungs stop working and causing death from suffocation in just a few hours. Viper venom belongs to the first type and acts mainly on the blood circulatory system. causing hemorrhages. It severely affects the muscles and some other tissues of the body. Snake venom changes the composition of the blood and kills white blood cells. White blood cells protect the body from pathogenic germs, but they cannot cope with the action of the venom, so when germs start to multiply on the wound, which won't heal and may even get infected with gangrene. Likewise, viper venom affects the entire body as it spreads through the bloodstream. In addition to changing the composition of the blood, it causes severe damage to the tissues of the liver, spleen, and kidneys. The kidneys usually remove the poisonous substances from the blood directly into the urine and then naturally into the toilet. They also try to remove the snake venom, but in this case their tissues partially die off. If viper venom enters the digestive system, there is severe inflammation and hemorrhages, but the venom itself is destroyed by the digestive juices and bile. Now Tony is feeling drowsy and is semi-conscious. He may suffer from nausea, vomiting, and even convulsions. His heart rate increases, but the heart itself becomes weaker, the body becomes cold, and Tony has trouble breathing. Death comes from respiratory failure within 12 hours to 8 days if no antidote is administered. However, not always a viper bite leads to death. Sometimes the body can cope with the poison itself and the person recovers. That's exactly what happened to Tony. The heart starts functioning better, the body warms up, and the swelling goes down. But the damage caused by the poison of the viper was so strong that Tony may feel weak for a few months. And it is even possible that the disease will return and become chronic. That is, weakness and poor heart and lung function may remain forever. But Tony is a strong boy and is rapidly recovering. I think Tony is ready for us to try the second kind of snake venom. By the way, it is abundant in the most famous snake, the cobra. Let's see what we have here. There is no swelling at the bite site, no pain either, but Tony feels tired and faints. Breathing and heartbeat become labored. Such poison can cause death in just a few hours if nothing is done. The fact is that cobra venom affects exclusively on the nervous system, so it does not produce any local effects. The main active agent of cobra venom is a neurotoxin that affects the respiratory center, causing suffocation. However, even such a bite may not be fatal. The body is able to cope on its own if a small amount of venom enters the body. But it is better to get help from specialists and receive competent treatment. You can recover much faster from a cobra bite than from a viper bite, because if the body has withstood the effects of the poison, it is easily removed by the kidneys without damage to the tissues and blood, whether we're talking about a person or an animal. The main thing is to drink plenty of fluids and go to the toilet. Now tell us in the comments what else you know about poisonous snakes and if you have ever met one. The best stories will be featured in the next episode. Like and subscribe if you enjoy our experiments with Tony. Bye-bye.